It is a Mediterranean climate. This in general terms, as it's touching the Mediterranean, but it gets up to 900 meters of altitude, which brings also some continentality. The Mediterranean climate is typically dry winter and summer seasons, and rain in spring and fall. We are around 300 to 400 over sea level. It is not the highest zone. There is another zone on the other side of the valley where they arrive to 900 meters. What we have here as a difference from the central valley is shallow soils with less organic matter, and parcels are in terraces. This leads to a more complicated viticulture. These are usually loamy soils, but then we have textures with a lot of sand and textures with very little. It is very important to know well the terrain, as each soil is worked with a different level of humidity. Soils with more sand can handle more humidity. Those with little sand will compact if you work them with high humidity.
You were the first in Spain to focus on sustainable and ecologic viticulture. Can you tell us how this started with your father?
Historically, the grapes were sold to large producers of sparkling wine. Ecology at that time was something very far away. Nobody practiced it in the Iberian Peninsula. There was demand for it in other countries more environmentally conscious. And there was this importer who wanted ecologic wines from the Iberian Peninsula with an ecologic certificate. Back then my father was vegetarian, not anymore now, and they proposed him to try it. You're a vegetarian and perhaps you like this. And he started making a small production for that importer. Then we decided to do it for all our production, and we were the first.
But you have gone even further. You have started projects to recover ancestral autochthonous varieties. You focused on developing new clones, perhaps that is not the word, more resistant to disease and minimize the use of chemicals.
Yes, this started 20 years ago, around the year 2000. My father was looking for ancestral varieties that were not planted anymore in the area. He was looking for resistance to disease. In ecologic, with use a much lower level of chemicals than in conventional viticulture, the products are less aggressive, but we still have to use them to some extent. We still need to apply some. We realize that many of these old varieties in the forest have survived in the wild, resisting diseases. If they have survived, it's because they have resistance.
They had not had treatments.
But when you place them in vineyards, they would become weaker and would get diseased. We are now developing a project run by my father to look for varieties resistant to fungus that need almost no treatment or no treatment at all. We are in the room where we elaborate our white Fagno. This is a wine of terroir from a set of contiguous vineyards. A 100% Xarel·lo from one of the highest zones that we have in the Ordal Mountains. We produce it in 3 different ways and then we blend them. On the one hand, we use stainless steel, as inert as possible, with low temperature vinification.
What about the yeast?
With respect to yeast, we do several kinds of wines. For some we use selected autochthonous yeast, and for others, commercial yeast. Then the concrete eggs, without steel. They have an egg shape because they help to maintain the lees in suspension. These wines are worked with the lees in suspension with batonnage. The egg shape helps these lees to stay longer in suspension as a result of convection.
And then you have barriques of oak and acacia.
Yes, we use oak and acacia. We use acacia particularly with our whites, as we want a low impact of the wood in the wine, looking for wines displaying the fruit characteristics. But then with Fagno from Xarel·lo, we do some part in oak. with the traditional barrique of French oak and medium toasting level, and then the acacia that is not toasted to bring more floral aromas.
So acacia does not provide that much wood impact. Why?
No, it allows micro-oxygenation, but it's a wood way less aromatic.
Martí, we're now in the room of your red wines. Tell me how you work here.
Here we use mainly French oak and some American oak as well. The process of passing through barrique depends on the type of wine. The top wines, generally after malolactic conversion, get directly into barrique. We taste them and we blend them on a coupage. Some wines age all the time in barrique, and we work with 5 different coupers.
You made several reds. Which one would you put apart? Anyone a little more special, perhaps?
Well, the star of the house is the Reserva Martí. It carries my name. My father created it when I was born. Basically Cabernet and Merlot and a bit of Marcelin, which is a grape from the south of France that we grow here. We place all our knowledge in the selection of the vineyard, selection of berries, cold maceration, and then direct to barriques, new 2-year barriques. It spends a long time here and the wine acquires lots of structure. It's not a wine with too much oak. It is very balanced. We always look for balance. We avoid having too much wood.